I don't blame him, but Nate's not here today. He showed up on Tuesday. He told us Thanksgiving, and then he dipped. He knew what today was going to entail. It was going to entail Seth Keysor, shockingly, of the three of us, shockingly finding out that Seth is the one leading the war on Christmas. And now there's apparently a war on Thanksgiving. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to let Seth go full screen so he can tell you how happy he is that he don't have to talk to his family this holiday season. Me, on the other hand, I'm at least willing to argue that I'm conflicted about it. But Seth loves this. Good luck, Ebenezer. This one's all yours. The schedule's out. It's interesting, but it's not bad. And it's certainly less chaotic than last year, as long as you don't particularly enjoy the holiday season. Joshua Brisco, Seth Keysor with you here, as are the Detroit Lions and Dallas Cowboys. They're also on your screen right now. I know you did not consent to that, but they are actually playing a game right now just off screen because we're going to see a lot of them. A lot of Atlanta Falcons in prime time this year.
As we all expected.
Yeah, another thing I'm sure Seth loves also is a real big fan of people who drive without wearing their seatbelt and random diseases. I don't know. Seth, any other strong takes you want to open up today's show with? Any more counterculture you really want to get on top of?
You know, I was once told that if you really want to know what's good and what's right, take what the world is telling you. Go 180 degrees and you're probably close. Yeah. And that's why
so much about
I am not a victim of the mentality that just because everyone's upset about it, I've got to be upset about it.
It does make you the easiest man in the world to program, though. You know that, right?
Oh, yes. Well, as we all know, people that are designed to be skeptical of the mob are definitely the easiest to control. Those are the people, it's like, you know that guy that just has a tendency to argue with everything everyone's doing ever? That guy? Let's get that guy. Nobody wants me on their side, honestly, because I lose credibility with everyone when I talk. It's one of the great things about being a notorious fence sitter. And also, when I have a stance and I hold fast to it, you've known me a long time, Josh. If I hold fast to a stance, I mean, that's got to be at least worth you taking a second look. Like, you know what? Seth usually is Mr. Hey, we could have it both ways. Hey, you know what? I can see where they're coming from. But when I hold strong to something, that's when you know it's time to sit up and say, you know, you do the controller lean forward. You go, ooh, well, Seth really believes this. That's enough for me to pay attention. And that's all I'm asking, is that you give me the benefit of a doubt here.
I've never seen you do anything fast. Hold fast, run fast, talk fast. It's just not something I've ever really associated with you, but I'm willing to give it a shot, I guess.
I mean, I'm not really sure that's accurate. You watched me eat barbecue. And
in mass, but not necessarily. I'll tell you what, Seth, I've never seen you do anything less fasting than showing up and having barbecue. Hello. Fun with words, everybody. Isn't it neat how words can mean different things?
It is neat how words can mean different things. And I just want, we're going to talk about the Chiefs more or less this podcast. I just want everyone to know that there is no one in the world that I enjoy talking to more or who is genuinely funnier than a half ticked off Josh Brisco. And I'm going to do my very best to not take advantage of how absolutely delightful I find you when you're slightly annoyed.
I guess I'll go find myself on Tuesday so I can tell slightly annoyed Josh how Thursday is gonna go.
It's gonna be great. No, the schedule's out. And are we going to talk about the schedule first, or are we talking about the war on holidays first?
No, I think you ought to go ahead. And if you could also just make sure you do mention a bunch of other religious holidays that you would like football to take over, I think that would be good for the brand. Just pick a few. There are other religious holidays. Sorry, Seth, I should admit, there are other religions. I know that might be alarming.
Well, I mean, look, we all have our hobbies, I guess. So if other people want, you know, to To any listeners or watchers we have that are members of different faiths, please tune in for the times I make fun of Nazarenes and Baptists. And I
also
apologize.
known as the podcast.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But no, I was aware that other people had points of view, but I mean, some people.
It's something you need to concern yourself with.
Yeah, it's something I need to. Some people think that the sky is green, and I just don't concern myself with such things. So no, the holidays that I would be happy. I think I've had Chiefs games fall on my birthday at some point or another because I'm so old. It's bound to have happened at a certain point. Except I was born in March, so that doesn't make sense. But so I would love that. I would love to have a Chiefs game.
Really trust your memory too.
When
is your birthday?
So here's what okay, I'm gonna lay the ground. So the Chiefs are playing on Christmas. They are playing on Thanksgiving. We have the whole schedule thought out here.
7 primetime games, including all of the. They are getting more than allowed because of the loopholes within. I believe the Christmas game and the Thanksgiving game gives some funky math to work with. A lot of use on your TV, including Christmas and Thanksgiving.
One thing that's worth noting, they've got the flex game in Week 18 against the Raiders. The Raiders are the Raiders. I get that, but they are run by an adult now at head coach. Yeah. They have an adult at quarterback now in Geno Smith. There's a possibility that the Raiders are playing for a wild card spot. I'm not gonna say playing for the division. Like, let's not get weird. Although I am wearing black today, so who knows? Wow. By the way, anyone, if you see me wearing black, it's not because I support the Raiders. It's just easier than working out. Like, you wear black and boom, 10 pounds are gone. And so, I mean, that's just something you can do. Don't, that's too mean. Whatever you're about to do, me and my fully functioning pancreas don't need this right now.
I wasn't going to say anything until you said the pancreas line. I just think you ought to try putting on 2 or 3 black shirts.
Well, the problem is, like, as you can see, I clearly have like 7 or 8 cameras on me right now. So I'd have to put in a bunch of, you got the pounds that you add versus the pounds that you subtract. So here's the here's the thing about the holidays and the primetime games. This is how it goes. When you are, and we're going to talk about America's team, when you are the greatest show, everyone wants to watch the greatest show. And something I genuinely enjoy are those, and this is something that I think people don't realize they love this about sports. Do you remember, I believe it was on Monday Night Football against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the I'm Like That play against the Bucs?
I do.
Where so, those, I'm sure everyone remembers it. Patrick Mahomes, he's running to the right. They're in the red zone. He runs to the right sideline. Everyone's covered. He spins off a tackler, evades another one, does a flip to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Just an unbelievable play. I believe that was the 2022 season because it was the year that quarterback covered, right?
Probably.
And also, I'm Like That was such a great, like hearing that afterwards. I remember when the trailer for quarterback dropped and he did that, and I was like, oh, this is going to be the greatest show that I like. And it was so great. I'm Like That. I still have that saved as a meme because
are you unrelated or side related? Are you excited for Oops, We Didn't Three-Peat on ESPN? Which I think is what that should be called.
I gotta tell you,
the first 2 episodes, 3-parter, right? The first 2 episodes will be very interesting.
Yeah, and even the 3rd episode, it will be interesting to see if we get any insight. Is this when we find out that the entire Chiefs offense had like 104-degree temperature?
Yeah.
Because if someone told me that the entire Chiefs offense was sick, except maybe Xavier Worthy, I would believe you. I would
Andy Reid had a fever so severe he thought Joe Tooney's arms were 3 inches longer than they were.
He thought that he was a good matchup for Josh Sweat. Well,
DJ Humphries was so sick. He's barely still with us. It's honestly a miracle.
If only there'd been someone there to say, I don't think this quick game is going to work against a defense that's as well coached as Fangio's unit. That's what Fangio tries to do. You know what? I'm just going to get upset. I'm just going to get upset.
Sorry for bringing it up.
No, and that's
go back to talking about why you hate the holidays.
So this is how it goes. I remember. So Josh, you're a young man. You did hit 30, so you can onto that for a little while longer, but let me tell you, it's coming.
I'm younger than you, man.
You're younger than me, man. And there's plenty of people I'm sure listen, but there's a lot of people who remember what the 2012 season was like. Or like to just even go farther back to like the 2006 season, the 2005 season, anything, before 2003. Just all of just the times that we just wanted to watch the Chiefs on Monday Night Football. Every now and then, I wanted to hear Hank Williams Jr. tell me that we're ready for some football and know that it involves the Chiefs. I wanted to hear a national commentator say something about the Chiefs. I wanted to see them under the lights. I wanted to see these things. Now, honestly, the few times it happened, they were so bad usually that it was like, oh, God, to get this off my TV.
Yes.
And now we have it. And I'm gonna come back to what I like about primetime games, and it'll involve the whole I'm like that moment. What everything I'm hearing from people that don't like primetime games, it reminds me, man, I'm going to make a few people mad, but that's okay, of going on vacation with my kids. It's like,
already 1 point against. We know how you feel about them. You wish there was football on when you're on vacation with your kids.
Hey, you know what? One of my best memories of a Chiefs game was the Anything is Possible that we had just arrived to our VRBO in Florida, and I was watching out back because they have TVs outside in Florida, which I didn't know until that day, and it was like the coolest thing, and I was freaking out, and it was great, and my kids joined me. It was a wonderful memory. So here's the deal. So you go on vacation, you go with your kids, and you make a plan for a beautiful sunrise dolphin viewing boat ride that costs so much money and so much time, but they've got food, they've got guides, there's dolphins, there's beauty, and all your kids want to talk about is, but I had to get up early. I just miss when I was at my home with no ocean and no dolphins and no special food, because then I could sleep in. That's all I'm hearing. It's just, okay, you know what? I'm 40. I get tired too. I do get tired. Primetime games, I will readily acknowledge this. For content providers, primetime games are tough because like the game gets done and it's like 10:30 and you're like, and I don't have that dog in me anymore.
Real quick timeout. Quick timeout from the opposition. I'm gonna tweet. Thank you, ref. I'm obviously the other team here. Everyone in the chat and everyone listening now after the fact, I just need you to all help me with this. Genuinely, I genuinely need your help with this over the next several months. If Seth ever complains about an article going up really, really late after a primetime game, or if there is ever a longer than usual delay in the Chief in the North newsletter at mnchiefsfan.substack.com, I need you to be here to remind me of this conversation. That's
Absolutely.
all. Timeout is up. Defense goes back out there. Mm-hmm. And you make your kids get up at the crack of dawn to go look at the sunrise on Thanksgiving, apparently.
Oh, it's just terrible. It's terrible. I mean, I remember when we went to Universal and we went to the Harry Potter alley, Dagon Alley, I think it's called.
I think that's right.
Dagon? Okay. Of course, they named it after a Philistine god, but whatever, No, I'm just kidding. I actually don't make that connection. Let's all calm down.
All right, let's get... Now Seth's going to view Harry Potter through the Christianity perspective, and I'll be back with Nate on Tuesday. Until then.
So, when we were there, like, we got, like... we got them treats, of course, the ridiculously overpriced candy at the shop and all that fun stuff. And then they were upset we didn't get 2 or 3 or 4. I'm just saying, appreciate what you have. Now, all of you that are ready to, mark down that I said all this, I'm acknowledging it's tougher. It's harder. It'll be harder on me. It'll be harder on everyone else. But that's okay. The juice is worth the squeeze. And that's what you have to understand. Just because something's a little harder doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad thing. Now, hey, do I love a Sunday afternoon game, getting done at 3:30, and then I can just, write my article. It's posted by Sunday night. It's so clean. It's great. Apparently it's Dagon Alley. Oh, thank you, Ms. Brisco. I appreciate that.
That also sounds right. I don't remember what you even
Dagon. Yeah.
What's the Philistine god that made you mad? Digimon Alley?
Yeah. I think it was Mewtwo Alley. I don't really know much about Pokemon, so
Yeah, no, I know.
I'm only going to reference the most basic of them. So just keep in mind, yeah, it's a little harder.
Mewtwo is not the most basic of Pokemon, Seth.
Well, I mean basic in terms of like ones people would know.
Basic
Just when I thought I couldn't frustrate you. This is great. So, yes, it's a little harder.
Just gonna
Maybe it's a
mention
little
the
harder to
basic
stay up late,
Pokemon like
but
Giratina.
the juice is worth the squeeze. And let's face it, and I'll tell this to myself. And when you give me a hard time, when I'm like, oh, I'm a little tired the day after a Monday Night Football game, and you're like, well, Seth, I remember you saying that. And I will say, you know what? You're absolutely right. Because you know what's not that hard? Producing content about football.
Could have fooled me, man. When's your next one coming up? You've written like 3 stories this month. It's so easy. Why doesn't everybody do it? By everybody, I mean you.
I could always do more. You know what's hard?
Seems like you're not.
A lot
though.
of other things. Yeah,
I could be working out more, but I'm not.
Yeah, I could. You know what's hard? Working out is hard. Working out is very hard. But this
really makes Matty Lane make both of us look like kind of bums, huh? Because he's doing content and working out.
Yeah, no, and that's Matty Lane makes a lot of people look like bums, and I've accepted it.
Good point.
I would just say,
Tucker, can you text Matt and see if he's available for the next 45 minutes?
here's the prime time experience. Every now and then, so remember again, the I'm like that moment. Every now and then, or usually when Patrick Mahomes is playing a couple times a game, something will happen, or something with, Chris Jones or whatever, that makes the entire football world go, holy crap. Those moments are as fun as anything else. And you have this shared moment with the entire football universe that you don't get the same way when it's non-prime time. You get to have Trent McDuffie finally get his due because he makes big plays on prime time. Chris Jones, I mean, we're only a couple years removed from Jones being pretty underrated. Well, probably 3 or 4 years at this point, for being pretty underrated because, he had the Super Bowl. He didn't have any sacks in the Super Bowl.
I think he was nationally underrated until Aaron Donald retired, at least.
Yeah, which, there's a good conversation to be had there.
Yeah.
In terms of like how we view people based on the other guy, which that happened to him a lot. So I like it. And so this is the funny thing. I've ended up in this really strong stance on it. By not minding something, I have to take the stance that I like it because the hatred.
You are gaslighting
so
us now. We did like see the clip is out there. Claude did an excellent social video from Tuesday's episode. If you haven't seen that, that aged really well because Nate was right about Thanksgiving. You were fist pumping. It wasn't you weren't. Well, I was fist pumping demurely sitting in your recliner, sipping a nice warm cup of tea in a smoking jacket. I mean,
I had to respond with similar energy to you and Nate throwing on some Dashboard Confessional and putting on some black eyeliner.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
being as angsty as I was back in 2000, the first time I got my heart broken.
Yeah,
I had to match the energy.
You were 30 the first time you had your heart broken.
Sometimes.
It just seems older. It's great, I guess. It just seems older.
Yeah, no, the low-hanging fruit is really on me. I got to stop leaving those things out there. But that's so I like.
You have a big analogy. You wanted earlier. You said you were cooking up an analogy. Have you already? It was the analogy the kids on vacation thing.
Yes, we're only focusing on the negative. Focus on the positive. It's okay that there's some tougher things about it, but we can focus on the positive, can't we? Have we forgotten what it felt like to have a team that was like the equivalent in National Football League conversations to how what do you know about like right now, the Indianapolis Colts? That's right, nothing. You don't know a thing about them. You don't know who their quarterback is. You don't know anyone who used to play for them ever. No, see, exactly. You just made up a word.
Yeah.
And so...
Yeah.
And that's where the Chiefs were at. They were just so irrelevant, and now they're so relevant that people are hate watching them. That's pretty cool. It's pretty nice. Now, it can be inconvenient, but it's not that bad. And yet, look, sure, the holidays, it's a little inconvenient, but I've got another benefit.
Really changed the terms of the argument we were having, which is a very Seth thing to do.
I don't know what you're talking about. Here, I've thought of one more thing, and then I'm going to hand the baton back. In terms of the holiday stuff, One great thing that I realized happened, not this last Christmas Day, because that was really fun because they were beating down the Steelers and we were finally like, oh, hey, like, I think they could do this. Like this version of the Chiefs, yeah, no one wants to play them. Fair enough. The year before was one of the ugliest games we've watched in years. And I found myself markedly less upset than I normally am when the Chiefs play a crummy game because boy, did I have a great excuse to just kind of look around and be reminded it's just a game. And so that perspective that can only come to us on a holiday, that's something that's valuable for when things go wrong. Sure, oh man, they just
I
missed
hope
an open read.
during the midst of Thanksgiving dinner, I hope Jazz looks at you and goes, "He's just a man."
Yeah.
Really realizing what's pulling her family apart.
You know, I think she kind of likes getting me to check out a little bit during holidays.
I
for just a
bet.
little while.
I bet. That I'll tell you what, Seth, of all the arguments you've made, Jazz can get rid of me for a few hours is by far the most convincing. Look, I'm actually shockingly here. I'm cool with the primetime games. I think the specifics of the holiday double dip is hot steaming bull bleep. And guys, the NFL is doing it 3 times. The Chiefs, Cowboys, and Lions are all playing on Thanksgiving and Christmas. I think, and I do wish Nate was here for this because I don't like it when every NBA comp becomes about the schedule and how the league treats their top teams. But we're joking about Cooper Flagg last episode because people are like, well, what if he would have ended up in Charlotte? You know, well, great players end up in small markets all the time, noted now by the 7 primetime games from the Kansas City Chiefs, right?
Mm-hmm.
The NFL just going, here's the Chiefs a bunch. And then on the days when we are going to try to make the biggest outside of the typical window impact, it feels a little bit like they're going, give him, I don't know, give him LeBron and give him New York and his Boston and give him Boston. Okay, have all of them play. And that's just not really how the NFL is operated. Maybe it's also partially a little different because the Cowboys and Lions have never been good at the same time. And I think the Cowboys are probably okay, and the Lions should be actually good again. And the Chiefs are now absolutely America's team.
Yes.
This is something we've talked about this in the past. We've talked about this for a few years now, I think, and had varying arguments that I think the Chiefs have been on the winning side of time and time and time again. The NFL is telling you the Kansas City Chiefs are the biggest draw in the sport. That I do think is actually fun. I wish they'd be the biggest draw in the sport in a primetime window 6 times instead of 7, because one of those is Christmas night and one of those is Thanksgiving. But I do think that the raised platform that the Chiefs live on now is a very cool thing. And it's one of the things that helped get me through some of last year's most infuriating narratives, which was like refereeing nonsense, largely fueled by Chiefs fatigue. It's really surprising to me. Look, everything the NFL does is about money. Everything Clark Hunt does is about money. Hey, winning is important. Yeah, I hear you. But like we're talking about businesses who constantly are I have no interest in trying to catch you up on where Missouri and Kansas are at right now. But if the Chiefs really wanted to keep playing an Arrowhead because that's where the history is, Clark Hunt could cut a check and get a real nice little renovation figured out on his own dime. He's not going to, because Kansas and Missouri are going to fight for the right to have the Chiefs play in that state. It's money all the way up and it's money all the way down. But I'm a little bit surprised that the NFL is going so hard in the Chiefs' paint the year after. Like, Roger Goodell was getting asked that stuff in the Super Bowl press conference weekend, right? Like, this became a real deal. And I'm a little surprised they're not only double dipping on holidays, but there is that much primetime space for the Chiefs. Monday and Sunday night, I'll give you my positive. My silver lining of it is a very bright silver lining, but I am a little bit surprised by the double dipping on Chiefs, Cowboys, Lions, both holidays.
I definitely agree. I think they saw, in terms of Chiefs, Cowboys, I think Goodell saw an opportunity to break that coveted 50 million mark. I think he's like, yep, this is the shot. Because the NFL, they And it ultimately does come back to money because this is how they're able to operate. But the NFL loves to flex. They love to flex their dominance over other sports leagues, the NBA in particular. And I mean, that makes the most sense because they operate at around the same time.
Right.
And no one really at this point is like comparing baseball to football.
It's also really hard because it's 162 games and
Right.
81 and then in
right. And so, yeah, you get a little bit closer
17.
with that. Yeah. And so they love to show that stuff. And the reason they love it, for one, I'm sure it's a nice ego boost. I mean, who doesn't love a good ego boost every now and then? But I think they also love flexing on other leagues. So that way with every TV rights negotiation, with every Amazon, every Peacock, every Netflix, every YouTube, they can point and say, there is nothing like us.
Exactly.
We are it. There is nothing that can compete with us. What you are buying right now is a one-of-a-kind situation. It's like the reason why back in the day, I would tune in to almost entirely sports to listen to you, Josh Brisco, because there's nothing else like it. There's just Josh.
Seth can tell he's really been losing me these last 2 episodes. Now it's time to stroke that ego that he was just talking about a minute ago. Listen, Seth, I'm grumpy, but I'm not sleepy, okay?
Yeah, no. And but here's the deal. You're exactly
listen,
like
the fact that you're right. The fact that you're right is neither here nor there. It was the best radio show in the history of the media.
Yeah. When you and me both know that you're enough like me that it doesn't matter if the compliment's sincere. It just matters that it got said.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like, I tell that to Jazz all the time. I'm like, hey, I would really like it if you would say, this or whatever. It's like, yeah, but if you've asked for it, it'll be like, it won't be as sincere. I was like, I don't care. Like, I just need to hear the words come out of your mouth, and we're great. So I think the NFL loves to do that. They see an opportunity. I think the saturation. I'm curious what would have happened if the Eagles hadn't just smoked the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because all that talk, all that rig talk, all that whatever stuff, the AFC Championship was a really good game where the Chiefs pretty clearly outplayed the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't by a lot, but a lot of the talk after the AFC Championship was about ball. It was about how the Chiefs on both sides of the ball just outcoached the Bills, and they did. Reed, easily his best game of the year. Spags, easily his best game of the year. So that was great. That helped. And then the Super Bowl becoming a complete beatdown against the Chiefs in a way that they were exposed with certain flaws and that kind of stuff. The conversation just died. The AFC Championship.
That was a little like redemption story and Travis Kelce's last ride, trying to go out on top. The 4-peat, I don't think would have been embraced narratively.
The 4-peat, that's one thing that I'm always going to regret, because the odds of them getting back in the door to try for a 3-peat are insurmountable. Yeah. But there's always, with Mahomes, there's always that 0.01% chance. Right. But that's going to be tough. I think we would be seeing like people, the article that I saw earlier, written by an author I really like, who knows ball, at The Ringer, that talked about Chiefs fatigue. Honestly, that's the first I've really heard of Chiefs fatigue since the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And that's just it. Like, that became, and you and I talked about this a lot last year with the whole stupid ref thing. One thing I can't stand about our industry is the self-created stories. Mm-hmm. Something becomes a story because someone talked about it, and then someone asks a player about it because someone talked about it, and then it becomes a story because the guy was asked about it, so then he answered the question, so then everyone starts talking about it. It becomes a self-perpetuating machine. The Chiefs fatigue thing, in my opinion, is a lot like that. Yeah, of course fans were annoyed with the Chiefs. They kept winning. But like the ref thing and all that, I feel like our industry has an opportunity to not try to perpetuate a similar thing with Chiefs fatigue. Because you know what? People want to watch Patrick Mahomes play football because a couple times a game, he does something insane. Mm-hmm. And that's, so I can see, I get it, but I honestly, at this point, my hope is that's more of an isolated thing. And we'll see if that becomes this perpetuated thing, because it really reached a crescendo last year. And honestly, now you've got like a shot at redemption. But I will say, had they 3-peated, I can't even imagine. I can't even fathom the hatred And I'm a little disappointed, honestly, because that would have been a lot of fun.
I do think there's a little. I'm willing to give some intellectual plausibility to the Chiefs fatigue thing because, like, I know what Patriots fatigue felt like. But
Fair.
your Mahomes point, I think, is a good one that sort of sidesteps the Patriots thing because I don't have Josh Allen fatigue and I don't have Lamar Jackson fatigue, and I didn't develop Aaron Rodgers fatigue until he stopped doing the stuff on the field that made you go, wow, I don't know if there are any other human beings that can do that. So I think I do think that framing it as like the special stuff that Mahomes does versus here are the Chiefs on your television in a way that they're going to be standalone 7 times and more games in like prime afternoon windows. I'll give you my silver lining after we take a break here in a second. But I think I'm even warning you about the break, Seth. That's the real olive branch I'm reaching out for the second half of the show. I do think, and you mentioned the story. It's Deontay Lee in The Ringer. I'll mention it because I don't think it was a bad story, and I don't think it's a bad column. He did note that the Chiefs notoriously do play weird games, which I appreciated. I don't know if that was referential or not, but it's a fact of life.
It is. And shout out to Deontay, who knows ball.
He does.
Follow. You can learn a lot about defense reading his stuff.
It's one of the reasons I read that last night, like sort of foggily of like, what's this going to be? And I saw it was Deontay and I was immediately like a little bit, I could exhale a little bit. Like, well, this isn't going to be stupid, right? Like this isn't clickbait, engagement bait, whatever. And I went through it and I thought about half of it was like, yeah, I totally see how you'd end up here. And there were a few parts later on. I was like, I don't know if all this tracks, but one thing that he talked about in that story that I went, I'm not predicting this continuing, but I do understand it. The quarterback thing, Patrick Mahomes still does amazing things and has amazing moments, but the offense has not been as fun the last couple of years as it was in the years prior. So I know you've got some thoughts on that. I want to give the silver lining on my side. Again, the Monday night and Sunday night games, I'm actually kind of excited about, and I'll tell you why after the break.
We should do it that way more often.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
It's playoff time, and if you're still just watching games, then you're missing out. With Pick 6 from DraftKings, you can turn your hoops knowledge into real cash. Just make your picks, track your score, and if you hit all 6, you're looking at bigger payouts than Prize Picks Flex Plays. Nobody's dropping better payouts than Pick 6. Hit 6 picks, and that's 25 times your cash. And if you beat your competitor, you could be looking at a 500 times bag in your pocket. And right now, new customers get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry. The playoffs are on, so why not take a shot at making a little money while you're watching? Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app right now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN to play $5 and get $50 in bonus picks. Better payouts, bigger wins, only on Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, so I want to go to that conversation here, Seth, about the way that the team playing impacts how you feel watching them. Matt Verderam mentioned this on that football show that he and Tucker Franklin did right after the Thanksgiving news came out, and then Tucker went live after the schedule. That's on the Chiefs YouTube, or after the Chiefs schedule came out. That's on the KCSN YouTube. That football show's on the same podcast feed and the YouTube channel that you're listening or watching this on. Tucker and Matt were made for that particular moment, but Deontay Lee mentioned, the Chiefs' offense becoming a little bit stale over the years. I'm paraphrasing, but that plays into it a little bit. And something that Matt mentioned, that Verderam mentioned with Tucker, was like, look, you don't really hate the Giants. You just hate the Giants because they're on your TV 5 times a year and they're trotting out Tommy DeVito. And you're like, man, I've got better things to do.
Right.
I do think that there's a little bit of the NFC East fatigue that we all have understood many times over the years is usually because those games aren't good. When the Eagles and Cowboys were playing high-scoring competitive games to the top of the division, it's totally cool. Having an actual quarterback in Washington might make those games more interesting, even though you're going to watch the Cowboys more than you care to. It comes with the territory, it seems.
Yep.
But I do think there's something to that. The vitriol really comes out on social media during games when it's Saints Jags Thursday night football, and you're like, how does this game even happen? Why are we watching this? I do think the Chiefs have been on your TV a lot, and this is funny to say given the results, underperforming your expectations, at least as an entertainment product. So I think there's something there. Seth, I know you were thinking about that as well. How do you wrap your head around that?
I think that if the Chiefs had continued to be the Golden State Warriors of the NFL, the Golden State Warriors don't get that much hate. Like Draymond Green does, but honestly, he's kind of got it coming. Like
more than anybody ever.
Yeah, like if someone's like, oh, I can't stand that guy, I'm like, yeah, that's fair. I mean, I don't know him, and maybe he's a
I'm
great
going
guy
to
behind the scenes.
I'm going to go a step further. If you tell me, I love Draymond, I'm going to assume things about you and maybe the chance of us having an ongoing friendship.
Yeah, no, and I guess we don't have to go too far into that.
I kind of want to,
but
I think he's 35.
Yeah, grow up, but whatever. So
how old do you have to be before hunting penises for sport is no longer your move as a professional athlete?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Saul had David, marry
I'm so glad that's where you. Great. Fantastic. Okay. Next thing. We're done. Boom, boom. We both got a joke. Fantastic.
Yeah, that was great. So I think the interesting thing, with the Warriors, and again, I don't follow the NBA that closely anymore. I wish I still did. I just kind of lack the time. And so
they play on Christmas every year.
Oh man, so something to do?
Flip it on then, yeah.
Thank God, finally. So the what the really funny thing is with that whole joke is like you've been around me when I'm around my sisters, and you know how much fun I have hanging out with my family. But for some reason, I just love football being on. Maybe that's part of why I like it so much. Like if I'm sitting there with like Sarah and Hope, it's like a family thing. Anyway, so if the Chiefs, so the Warriors didn't really get hated on, even like when Kevin Durant joined them, and Durant maybe got a little more made fun of and stuff for kind of front running or whatever. I don't really care.
He dunked on Emmanuel Ocho today, though. That was great. KD's stock back up.
Oh, well, see, I like to hear that.
Yeah.
So I think people it didn't bother them. They didn't really become hated because they kind of changed the game, because they were always fun to watch. You never knew when one of them would catch fire and it would do like crazy things. The 2022 Chiefs, even though they weren't as bombs away as they were early, they still were. They were brutally efficient and made big plays. Then in 2023, the offense was average to below average, but the defense was great. And most people don't like defense first teams. The 2023 Chiefs were a defense first team who happened to have the greatest closer in history at quarterback, right? So then you get to the Super Bowl and it's like, okay, the defense kept us in it. Now it's the fourth quarter. I'm going to play absolutely perfect football now for 4 drives, and it's going to be incredible. Like, that's fun to watch, but you haven't seen as much of that. If the Chiefs had remained bombs away, and I don't know how that really worked. That's tough to do year after year after year after year after year. All teams go through ebbs and flows. There's no team that remains, oh, we're top 2 in offense every year. The Chiefs did for like 4 or 5 years in a row. It was actually if you go by DVOA, it was the greatest DVOA stretch any team's ever had in terms of being like top. It was number 1 multiple years and top 3 at least, right up through 2023 when the bottom fell out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Had that kept happening, I wonder if there would be a strongest pushback and if there weren't so many close games, because close games create the appearance of luck, which we all get because we become more educated on how football really is luck-based in some ways. So close games make that happen. I think that played a part in it. I think obviously not that this is anyone's fault, but you become even more famous with the whole T-Swift stuff. And again, that's no one's fault. And it's silly that it went down that way, but that just is what it is. But I think if they were still bombs away, averaging 30 plus a game, like let's say this year, everything falls into place. Like, or even just some things. Like, let's say Josh Simmons is healthy and he plays. Now, I don't think that's going to happen, everyone. Let's do a little fan fiction. But
I don't know, man. I'm having a real hard time ruling them out.
Literally nothing has
I
changed
just
since
want it
rookie
so
minicamp a week ago. That means nothing, but
yeah, but how bad we want it is starting to change.
I think that's true. Yeah, I think that's true.
So, like, let's say Josh Simmons comes in and is what they think he is.
Or even if Jalen Moore is just like pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Or Jalen Moore is what he thinks he is.
Top 15
Suamadiia doesn't stink at left guard. And let's say everyone stays healthy. Rashee Rice is only suspended for 3 games, 4 games. Brown has a role. Like, there's a path here for them to be a 30 plus.
Drafting Xavier Worthy was a clear announcement of intentions regarding the deep passing game coming back.
Yep.
The messed up thing is we didn't really see a lot of evidence of that until the 4th quarter of a Super Bowl that was over already.
Right. So let's say, because we could include all sorts of things with Rashee Rice, with Brown's role, with Travis Kelce. But 2 things: Simmons and Worthy go the way they think it could.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably averaging 30 a game.
I'm going to continue to expand it and say left tackle and Worthy, because there are 2 paths to that still. Yep.
Left tackle and Worthy work out the way they're hoping it will. Honestly, it would take catastrophes everywhere else or in multiple other places for things to go poorly for the offense. I think the defense might be better this year than it was last year, but that's a whole nother ball box. So let's say the Chiefs go back this year to being dominant on offense. Or let's say they're dominant on offense and good on defense. They like, now all of a sudden it's like a 2022 thing where you're like, whoa, and they start running teams over again. I think the hate subsides a little more because there's something about eking out close games, about whatever. The vibe that I got from people is that they didn't feel like the Chiefs had earned it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like there was resentment there. They just didn't feel like the Chiefs deserved to be talked about the way they were being talked about. Now, do I think that's ridiculous? Yes. Do I think you can objectively prove the Chiefs earned it? Yes. But I get it. When you're not blowing teams out, that 2023, we talked about that every week. We were like, good God, this is not fun sometimes. Mm-hmm. And then to see them still win it all, that made people mad. I get it. I think if they went back to dominant this year, especially on offense, I think you'll see a turn because the inevitability of Mahomes, all that stuff, stops being a conversation people resent as much.
I think that's fair. Here's my my silver lining on the primetime game thing. No sarcasm at all. My favorite TV products in the world right now, I think the top 2, and they occasionally change in order. At least they did last year. I'm hoping they return to form this year. I think my 2 favorite TV products are Kansas City Chiefs football and the Red Zone channel.
Oh, yes.
Good news, ladies and gentlemen. We got a lot of Red Zone channel openings. So my perk for this schedule is that they're only going to be on during Red Zone hours 8 or 9 times and only 6 times before week 15. It is, and a bunch of these are like sort of the prime game in the afternoon window anyway.
Right. Yeah. They're not on at noon until week 7.
Week 7, and then not again until week 12, and then not again until weeks 15 and 16.
Right.
The back half of the season, things will shuffle around, whatever. We'll figure it out. The first 11 weeks, really everything before the bye, especially that Eagles game. So you have standalone, Eagles game in the afternoon window, standalone, Ravens, America's game of the week, standalone window, standalone, Raiders at noon, Commanders standalone, Bills prime afternoon window, bye week, Broncos afternoon. You're going to have like one day that you miss. The Raiders game in week 7, maybe the only day that you miss the best of red zone.
Yeah.
That's great for just like watching football. Again, I like standalone games. I didn't enjoy the primetime games when I was hosting a post-game show or immediately trying to, write out 500 stories in the post-game press conferences and whatnot. But I'm a little bit untethered to that right now. And so I love as much red zone couch time as possible and the Chiefs playing in standalone. I like that. Just to be clear, my annoyance is the holiday side. At this point, I could have settled for one of the freaking two.
Right.
Both of them feels messy.
Yeah. It's almost like it's like just doing something just because you can.
Yes.
Great point on red zone, especially now. I mean, man, they just keep pushing it farther every year because now you can do the quad box and red zone can be one of the quad boxes. And you're just like,
I got 2 TVs downstairs now. I made that move when the Chiefs and Royals were playing at the same time, and I have not looked back. It has been a good evolution for our basement.
Yeah, it is.
Bad evolution for our marriage, but a good evolution.
Yeah, you you give a little.
You give and take. It's a trade-off. You do what you can.
Yeah. And so I totally agree. The red zone experience is so much fun. It's so much less stressful when the games don't really matter that much and you just get to watch football. And so that is a great thing. And like you pointed out, there's 3 or 4 games that are at 3:30. And those, the very best part of red zone is the witching hour, right? It's 2:55 and 6 different games are within a point. The amount of dopamine you get for that 10-minute span where one team fumbles, there's a doinked field goal over here, a touchdown to win it all that gets called back. And it's so much fun.
It's the best thing in sports. The only thing that could make it better is if it was on Christmas.
Yeah, that would be the only thing on Christmas right before we're about to read Luke chapter 2.
Yeah.
Is that the witching hour? Hang on, guys. We got to watch this first. But that is the best thing in sports. It really is. I love that you framed it that way, that the witching hour in red zone is addictive. And when they play at 3:30, you're not missing anything. You don't miss a thing, and you just get to watch the wildness. So that's one good thing.
I like that. Here's the other thing. I'm sorry that this takes coming 48 minutes into the episode.
Oh boy,
the Chiefs' schedule's pretty all right. Like there's nothing other than the freaking holiday games, which I'm going to stop. That asterisk is there every time talking about the schedule. Okay,
right.
But outside of Christmas and Thanksgiving being absolutely wild, which again 2 other teams are doing too. There's not a lot of outrageous weirdness, at least compared to last year.
Yes.
Here's the interesting thing. The bye week is a remarkable dividing line. Mm-hmm. And I have a medium spicy take that I believe, and then a fired spicy take that is plausible.
Okay.
And it starts with the first half of the schedule. The first half of the schedule, Chargers in Brazil, Eagles at home, at Giants, Ravens at home, at Jacksonville, Lions at home, Raiders and Commanders at home, at Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I expect is for them to be 6-3 going into a bye. I expect them to lose 3 games in that window, and it would the games could matter, like who it's to, but I think they could be 6-3 at the bye, and then that would be the time to go look at the AFC West future odds or whatever. Because it just the way that the Chiefs seem to start seasons, the way that Andy Reid seems to prepare for seasons, a lot of this ends up being speculative, and some of it just feels like fact. And I don't know if it is fact or not, but we've seen it enough that everybody knows what I'm talking about. I'd be surprised if they lost to the Chargers in week 1. That's a divisional game with an offseason to prepare for an opponent. If they lost to the Eagles and Lions in week 2 and 6, that would not surprise me one bit.
Right.
2 NFC games, and I promise you, I have no doubt, even though they're going to be the team coming in on not needing revenge, I think Nick Sirianni is going to be more amped for week 2 than Andy Reid's going to be, right? I mean, Nick Sirianni is more amped for anything than Andy Reid is for anything, I think, by the nature of how they seem to be wired. But like those games mean more to those teams, I think. Chiefs-Eagles is close, but I cannot see Andy Reid deciding to put his foot on the throttle in week 2. Dan Campbell and the still trying to completely prove it, haven't gotten to the Super Bowl yet, Detroit Lions, feel like they could be really trying to, our Super Bowl, we got to prove what we can do here. Here's the team we want to see again in February. Let's handle it week 6 at Arrowhead. Here's the spicy thing. They could definitely could start 0-3 at Arrowhead. Philly, Baltimore, Detroit.
I mean, that first 9 weeks is tough. You've got
not a lot of, let me say this, Seth, not a lot of back-to-back games that you could see them losing. If they go 6-3, it's not because they lose 2 games in a row at any point. You know what I mean? Like,
right. It's just interesting. I mean, you're looking at multiple legitimate Super Bowl contenders in 9 games. They play. This is if you don't consider Los Angeles a Super Bowl contender, which I just can't. I understand everyone's very excited for them and all that, but you still are playing in 9 games. You're playing 5 legitimate Super Bowl contenders.
4? Are you counting Washington?
Yeah.
Ooh, sure.
I mean, they made it to the NFC Championship.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And watching Jaden Daniels, I was like, that dude can play
for sure.
And so I just
they're playing 4 or 5 of the like 8 or 9 legit Super Bowl contenders. That number might be high.
Right. And again, Vegas has an adult running the show now. Pete Carroll's teams are always competitive, generally speaking. They've got an adult at quarterback. That should be different. It'll just be really, really interesting to see how it plays out. I do think, that's a strong take. It would be crazy if it happened. And then we would just get to listen to everyone once again ring about, write about the Chiefs' decline, write about the et cetera. That would be fun.
Doesn't it just feel like that's already happening? Like this, they lose 3 or 4 games to legit Super Bowl contenders, and then they don't lose after the bye. I think that might be a mild take that's on the table. So they lose to some good teams in the first half of the season. They beat average to below average teams in the second half of the season. Wow. Then the playoffs come around and you go, wow, well, they lost to Baltimore back in week 4. Why is it going to be different in the playoffs? And the answer is it's always different in the playoffs.
It's always different in the playoffs. That is interesting. You make a good point. I mean, so just so people that are listening or, if they're not looking at the schedule. So after the bye week, you've got 8 games left at Denver, Indianapolis, at Dallas, Houston, Los Angeles, the Chargers, at Tennessee, Denver, at Vegas. Unless Denver is as good as they seem to think they're going to be this year, and maybe they will. And they've generally played the Chiefs pretty tough. I mean, maybe Dallas is better this next year. We'll see. But that is not nearly as tough a schedule to the back end. Houston, I think, will bounce back.
I think those are all competent teams in the back half, and you get theoretically it's Cam Ward's 15th game as a starter as opposed to getting the Titans in week 1. It's still an NFL schedule the rest of the way, and I don't know how many legit pushovers I think there are in the league right now. It's a pretty small number,
right?
It's probably pretty close to the number of legit top line Super Bowl contenders, but that's the vision for me, and it's why I think cutting the season in half at the bye week is so fascinating. They could absolutely be 5-4 going into the bye and finish 13-4, or they could still stub their toe in the second half against the Broncos one of those times, against maybe the Colts or the Cowboys or the Texans, or they lose one of those games to the Chargers. If they lose it in week 1, now we're talking about 4-5 in the first 9 weeks. There's a lot of room for this season, I think, to offer up narratives that will demand overreactions that I'm just like, hey, everybody listening, everybody in the chat, this is another request for you. Remind me in week 8 when the Chiefs are about to lose to Washington and they're, the season is falling apart. Somebody send me this clip back again, because I really that's what it looks like to me. There are a couple of games here that are more important for the opponent than they are for the Chiefs. The early season sort of head in the clouds kind of stuff seems to happen, and then they straighten it out down the stretch and then start thumping teams in the playoffs. And it feels like it's all right out in front of them in a way that they've gone through a similar process multiple times at this point. So you can't say it's just a total fluke.
Right. And that first half of the season being the really brutal stretch. And again, we don't know, right? Who knows?
You're right.
Maybe
Right.
maybe by the time we get to, December 7th, we're talking about the Chiefs versus the undefeated Texans, right?
Sure.
These things happen. But that first half being as brutal as it is provides them with some opportunities to show that this is a different team than last year, that's one thing that's so funny. Because the season ended so badly for the Chiefs, and they got blown out in the Super Bowl. It was really, really rough. Because it ended so badly, the way people talk about the Chiefs is not like talking about a team that went 15-1 in games they tried to win, wrapped up their division with 4 weeks to go,
Something like that. Yeah.
and went through the playoffs fairly comfortably until the Super Bowl. Now against the Bills were good. Josh Allen did some good things, whatever. But they were a few shot themselves in the foot from, beating the Bills kind of easy. Just they clearly outplayed them. That was not a game that I was super stressed down the stretch till that last drive. I was like, oh no, okay, it fell incomplete. But that's where it'll be interesting to see though, because it was the close game syndrome, them kind of playing down to every opponent syndrome. They're going to have a lot of opportunities there to prove it early and to prove that they're better than last year, where again, they were the AFC champions again. So I'm excited for this. Well, it gives them a chance to do that. And then, of course, what the Chiefs fan in me from 10 years ago kind of half expects them to go 9-0.
Yeah,
and
totally
then
possible.
Lose, and then lose
beat
6
Tennessee
games
by
down the stretch.
1. Yeah.
Yeah. Tennessee always drags them into rock fights, so it'll be interesting.
The whole AFC South tends to do that. That game in Jacksonville too. They haven't played a game in Jacksonville without a receiver's collarbone popping out of a socket in a while, right? Can we just maybe we get extra research on that turf before Monday night comes around? I do think it is a totally reasonable schedule. Again, I think that the best back-to-back teams you're probably getting are either Chargers, Eagles, week 1, week 2, or Commanders, Bills, week 7, week 8, just in terms of back-to-back games. It's kind of nice to have the Giants between the Eagles and Ravens. But you know what that is, Seth? That's a trap game. So you can build your narratives however you want around it. The only thing that we can all agree on is that Seth is wrong about the Chiefs playing on Christmas and Thanksgiving and any other holiday that you may care about. If other religions existed, there would be other holidays to play on.
Yeah. Well,
Seth, why don't you get us out of here? Why don't you get us out of here on a different... Seth, why don't you talk about how much you love your kids or something?
I do
or the
love
NFL
my kids.
schedule. No, don't do that. Do a different one.
My kids, they
do
sent
about
me a
how much
video.
you love Nate Taylor.
I do love Nate Taylor. I think we've talked about this before, but people need to know. There's a lot of reasons I love Nate Taylor.
Do about why you love Tucker D. Franklin.
I love Tucker D. Franklin for so many reasons. His humility, the fact that